morning, students. In previous class we are discussed about the drugs and alcohol abuse. In drugs and alcohol abuse, what else we are studied still for so far in the sense drugs what commonly abused, drugs which are commonly abused by people are means what are those what are they commonly used commonly abused drugs we are studied in a previous class. Those are opioids, then we are studied about the cannabinoids, and last we are studied about the cocaine, and here we are studied about the chemical nature and from where they are going to extract, what are the parts are used as a drug, and how where we are going to find the receptors for them, and afterwards whether they are depressant or stimulants. These all the things we are studied in a previous class. So now we are going to discuss the next point, that is what adolescence and drug alcohol abuse. Adolescence and drug or alcohol abuse. Now here, when we are discussing the previous class about the drug and alcohol abuse, that time I told you the statistics, and what else I told you? Statistics and survey. When we are going to go for the survey or statistics regarding drug and alcohol abuse, that time we are going to find more number of youths they are involved in drugs and alcohol abuse. Now here we are going to discussing about the adolescence. Adolescence, first we are going to discuss about the definition of adolescence. What is mean by adolescence? Adolescence is a period of rapid growth and development. Adolescence, it is a period of rapid growth and development in human. Understood? Adolescence is a rapid growth and a period of rapid growth and development regarding physical and mental. Regarding physical and mental. And next point I written on the board. What is that? This is the period from puberty to the sexual maturity. Puberty to the sexual maturity. In the sense, after birth from the puberty to the sexual maturity, whatever the period is there, that period we are going to call as a adolescence. And in your NCERT book, they are mentioned the adolescence age is 12 to 18 years. 12 to 18 years. And also we are going to call what is adolescence in the sense, in a simple statement. It is the bridge between the childhood and adulthood. It is the bridge between the childhood and adulthood. Understood? Now, usually in common you can call this adolescence is a teenage also. Teenagers. Okay. Now this is about the adolescence. Adolescence is a period of rapid growth and development. Rapid growth and development of a physical and mental. Rapid growth and development of means in the sense physical and mental, and this is the period from puberty to the sexual maturity, and also what is a bridge between childhood and adulthood. This is about what? The adolescence. And the adolescence age which is mentioned in your NCERT book is 12 to 18 years. Now, here, the adolescence we are studying. What is mean by adolescence? Adolescence, it is the period. It is a period of rapid growth and development. It is a period of rapid growth and development, and it is a bridge between the childhood and adulthood. Now, this is what adolescence. After adolescence, we are going to move towards the drugs alcohol abuse. Now here, the adolescents, how they are going to go for abusing the drugs and alcohol. This we are going to study in this particular concept, that is what adolescence and drug and alcohol abuse, drug bar alcohol abuse. Now you are means you know about the adolescence. What is adolescence in the sense? It is a period. It is a period of rapid growth and development, or it is a period from puberty to the sexual maturity, or it is a bridge between childhood to the adulthood. Right. Now, these adolescents, why they are undergoes the abuse of drugs and alcohol. For that, the causes. What are the causes for drug and alcohol abuse? In that, first, I written here on the board: curiosity, need for adventure and excitement, and last one is experimentation. Now here, the age group from 12 to 18 years, we are going to call them as adolescents. And another one what I told you, teenagers. They all are very much curious about the things which are happening surrounding them. They used to know each and everything. They are curious about all those things, and for that curiosity, they used to use the drug and alcohol. That is the first cause. And second, need for adventure or excitement. Adventure and excitement in the sense, if you are more curious to know something, for that you used to show the excitement. Okay, and adventure in the sense, for example, these age group, what boys or girls, when you are going to take the example of boys, they used to feel adventure about he can ride the bike above 120 kilometer per hour or 130 kilometer per hour. These all are the things he used to he used to do the adventure for the excitement. How? In the sense, for example, if parents used to take child for the a picnic, or else he used to take him as him or her to the water park and all. Again, that child or this age group, adolescent boy or girl, they used to excite. They show the excitement for in the sense when I used to go there, how it is, and ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ನಾವು. ಆನಂತರ ನೀರಿನಾಗ ನಾವು ಜಿಗಿಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ನೀರು ಕೋಲ್ಡ್ ಇರ್ತಿತ್ತು ಅಥವಾ ವಾಮ್ ಇರ್ತಿತ್ತು, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಬೇರೆ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೋ ಅದೆಷ್ಟು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ನಾವು ಮಜಾ ಬರ್ತೈತೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಇದು ಆಲ್ ಆರ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ದಿ ಎಕ್ಸೈಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆರಿಮೆಂಟೇಷನ್. ಇಫ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಕ್ಯೂರಿಯಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ನೋಯಿಂಗ್ ದಿ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್, ಇಫ್ ಯು ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಡೂ adventure, or if you are excitement for something, that time ultimately you are going to go for a experimentation. So likewise, for the drugs and alcohol abuse, the adolescents, what is the cause for the what are the causes which are dragging the adolescents for the drugs and alcohol abuse? In that, first I written on the board, that is curiosity, need for adventure, excitement and experimentation. These all are drag the adolescents, in the sense teenagers, for the drug and alcohol abuse. One thing. Next one, first they used to use the drug and alcohol for the curiosity, or for the adventure, or for the experimentation, or they used to feel good. But the thing is, the drug and alcohol, the adolescents are going to start using when they are going to escape from facing the problems, when they are troubling some problems, and if they want to escape from that problem, they used to go for the drugs and alcohol. That is also a problem, means cause which can drag the adolescents into the drugs and alcohol abuse. Adu one ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಂದಾಗ ರೀಸನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ರೀಸನ್ಸ್. ಏನು ಬರ್ತಲ್ಲ reasons. ಆ reasons ಇಂದ ಏನಾಗ್ತಿಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ adolescents they are undergoing the drugs and alcohol abuse. Understood? Now another one is escaping from stress. If somebody is undergoing the stress ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನನ್ಗೆ ಭಾಳ ಟೆನ್ಷನ್ ಆಗೈತೆ ಅಥವಾ ಏನು ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಆದಾಗ ಕೂಡ ಆ ಒಂದು ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂದಾಗ ಅವನು ಡ್ರಗ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಆಲ್ಕೋಹಾಲ್ ಅಬ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟುಡ್? ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಈಸ್ ಎಸ್ಕೇಪಿಂಗ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಿನೇಷನ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನ, ಇಫ್ the fellow is not doing well in academics or somebody is not doing well in examination and he is what getting doubt regarding he is going to pass or fail, in the sense ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಬರೀತೀವಿ ಅಥವಾ ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನ್ ನಾವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತೀವಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತೈತಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಕೆಲಸ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಆನಂತರ ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರದಿಂದ ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಟೆನ್ಷನ್ ಆಗ್ತೈತಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎಸ್ಕೇಪಿಂಗ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಟ್ ಟೆನ್ಷನ್ ದ adolescents are used to start using the drug and alcohol, and these are also the what we are going to call that as the reasons for dragging the adolescents into the drug or alcohol abuse. Now here I written on the board another one thing is independence. Independence in the sense the age group from 12 to 18 years. This the age group of 12 to 18 years, boys and girls, they used to think we all are now, means we are independent, we are not dependent upon our parents or elders, we can do anything, whatever we feel good or whatever we want. Hangaga kuda enagipa anta they are going to go for abusing the drugs and alcohols. Now next reasons or a next what we are going to call as a causes for a drug and alcohol abuse by the adolescents andaga, one is cool in the sense ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಮಂದಿ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂದಾಗ ಈ ಡ್ರಗ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಆಲ್ಕೋಹಾಲ್, ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ few people they used to smoke and they used to feel the cool. ಅವ್ರು ಅಂತಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂದಾಗ ನಂಗೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಸ್ ಆಗೈತಿ, ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಇಂದ ವರ್ಕ್ ಭಾಳ ಆಗೈತಿ, ಒಂದು ಸಿಗರೆಟ್ ಪಡೆದ ನಂತರ ಐ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಫೀಲ್ ರಿಲ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಯಾರ್ಯಾರು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೋ ಆಗ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಈ ಅಡೋಲ್ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಈ ಏಜ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಹುಡುಗರು ಏನಿರ್ತಾವೆ 12 to 18 they used to listen that. ಅದು ಕೇಳಿದ ನಂತರ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ ಹಾಂ, if you used to go for a what smoke, then you used to feel relaxed or cool. For example, what we are going to go for, ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತೈತಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಟೆಲಿವಿಷನ್, ಮೂವೀಸ್, ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಪೇಪರ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾವೆ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಪ್ರಮೋಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾವೆ. ಎದಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಮೋಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾವೆ? ಫಾರ್ ಡ್ರಗ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ಕೋಹಾಲ್ ಅಬ್ಯೂಸ್. ಆ ಪ್ರಮೋಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾವೆ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಮೂವೀಸ್ sometimes ನೀವು ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು somebody used to smoke in different way. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಕನ್ನಡ ಮೂವಿ ಭಾಳ ನೋಡ್ತಿರ್ತೀರಿ, ಇನ್ನು ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೇಕು ಸುದೀಪ್ ಇನ್ ಉಚ್ಚಾ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ he used to smoke in a particular what we are going to call that one as a style. ಆಗೇನಾಗ್ತೈತಿ ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡಿ ಕೂಡ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅದನ್ನ ಥೋಡೆ ಹುಡುಗರು ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾನು ಹಿಂಗೆ ಸ್ಮೋಕ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಹಿಂಗೆ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, ಇದನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು they used to go for the what drug and alcohol abuse. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಕೂಡ ಅವ್ರು ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಡ್ರಗ್ ಮತ್ತು ಆಲ್ಕೋಹಾಲ್ ಅಬ್ಯೂಸ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗೋ ಚಾನ್ಸಸ್ ಐತಿ. ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಈಸ್ ರಿಲೇಶನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಟೀನೇಜರ್ಸ್, ಕಾಲೇಜ್, ನಾವು ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ದೇರ್, ಯುವರ್ ಏಜ್ ಇಸ್ ಅಡೋಲ್ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಏಜ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಏಜ್ ಸೊ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಮೆನಿ ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ ಈಗ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಅನಿಸ್ತಿರ್ಬೋದು ಇದೇನು ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಸರ್ ಹೇಳೋದು ಎಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತೈತಿ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಮಂದಿ ಈ ಏಜ್ನಾಗ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಇದು ತಪ್ಪುಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ. they used to do these all the mistakes. For example, ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ they used to go for the smoking for the experimentation or excitement like that, and after that ಅದನ್ನು ಅದು ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತ ನಾವು ಏನಾಗ್ತಾರಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ escaping from the problems ಇಂದ escape ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, then they used to start the smoking and all these all the things. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ರಿಲೇಶನ್ಶಿಪ್ in the sense what we are going to call that as a boyfriend girlfriend, ಇದೇನು ಚಲೋ ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ sometimes breakups happened or rejection is there in when that fellow is going to propose the girl or girl is proposed to the boy. ಅದೇನಾಗ್ತೈತಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ದಾಗ ಅಗೇನ್ they are moving towards the drug and alcohol abuse. That is also one reason or that is also one cause for what drug and alcohol abuse in adolescence. Next one is family issues in the sense that sometimes you heard about the what ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಟೈಮ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತಿಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಮದರ್ ಮತ್ತು ಫಾದರ್ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಫೈಟ್ ಆಗ್ತೈತಿ ಅಥವಾ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಸಮ್ ಫೇಸಿಂಗ್ ಸಮ್ economic problems and all these when these problems are observing by the what adolescents the age group between the 12 to 18 years ಈ ಒಂದು ಏಜ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ದು ಹುಡುಗರನ್ನ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂದಾಗ ಅವ್ರ ಒಂದು ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಸೈಕಾಲಜಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಥರದ ಪರಿಣಾಮ ಆಗಕ್ಕೆ ಹಿಡಿತೈತಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಲೀಡ್ಸ್ ಟು ದೆಮ್ ಅಥವಾ ಅದರಿಂದ ಕೂಡ ಅವ್ರು ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಡ್ರಗ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಆಲ್ಕೋಹಾಲ್ ಅಬ್ಯೂಸ್ ಏನಾಗ್ಬೋದು ಬಲಿ ಆಗಬಹುದು. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಒನ್ what cause for the adolescents to drag drugs and alcohol abuse. Understood? Drug and alcohol abuse. Next one is failure, in the sense what that failure is related to the what facing the problems, facing to the stress, academics and examination failure. These all are what the reasons or the causes for the drug and alcohol abuse in adolescents. Next, here I am written on the board: unstable or unsupportive family structure and peer pressure. Unsupportive and unstable family structure. Unstable family structure in the sense it needs to do something, the family is not supporting him, or a peer in the sense somebody advisable means on whom we are going to reliable for doing something. We used to ask the suggestion of that person. And such persons we have to call as a peer, and sometimes the peer pressure is more on what adolescents, and that also leads to the drug and alcohol abuse in such a way that these all are the causes. These all are the causes for the drug and alcohol abuse in adolescence. Now, in this particular point, what else we have studied in the sense what is adolescence, definition of adolescence, or what is adolescence in the sense adolescence is a period of rapid growth and development physically and mentally, and this is the period from puberty to the sexual maturity, and it is also the bridge between the childhood and adulthood. And what means what is the age group to whom we are going to call as a adolescence in the sense 12 to 18 years of age group, that is what we are going to call them as a adolescents. And this what is the age is mentioned, this is in your NCERT book, that is mentioned in your NCERT book. If suppose the question arises in CT NET, you used to take for this only 12 to 18 years. Understood? Now afterwards we have studied the causes for the drug and alcohol abuse in adolescence, and I mentioned or I explained all these things which all are causes for the drug and alcohol abuse in adolescence. In the sense curiosity, need for adventure and experimentation, and excitement, and last one is the experimentation, escape, facing problems, stress, academics and examination, etc. Next I told you they used to feel independent, they used to feel poor, for that they are going to go for abusing the drugs and alcohol. And next one I have told you about the relationship, family issues, failure regarding these things only, then unstable and unsupportive family structure and peer pressure. These all are the things which are going to promote or which are going to stimulate the adolescents to drug and alcohol abuse. Okay, so if the question is going to ask, write a note on adolescence and drug or alcohol abuse, you used to write in such a way. You are going to narrate the answer for that. And now, what is the adolescence? You are going to write the adolescence, and age group for the adolescence is 12 to 18 years. Okay. Now, in next point, we are going to study the addiction and dependence. Okay, after the adolescence and drug alcohol abuse, we are going to go for studying the addiction and dependence. Addiction and dependence in the sense once somebody is going to start using the drugs and alcohol, that time the further whatever the physiological changes or he is undergoing some particular characteristics, those we are going to define in the way of that we are going to call that as a addiction or a dependence. Addiction or dependence in the sense what? What is meant by addiction? Addiction is nothing but these all are given in your NCERT book. Those only I am going to means what telling you here, and these things you are going to write in an examination. Okay. Now see, addiction in the sense what? Addiction in the sense physiological attachment. Addiction is a psychological attachment to certain psychology in the sense of mansic. Namdu ಏನು ಪಾತಂದಾಗ psychological attachment to the certain effects. Psychological attachment to the certain effects such as euphoria and temporary feeling of well-being. Temporary feeling of well-being in the sense what? When you are going to take the drug, that time you used to think, you feel euphoria, you used to feel some what better in the sense ನಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಏನು ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ ಕೂಡ yes, I am doing here, I am means used to feel something better when you used to take what we are going to call that as a drug and alcohol. Okay, and what temporary well-being when he is going to take the drugs, for example alcohol and all, that time he used to feel cool and calm and he used to feel the temporary well-being, means the temporary feeling a well-being, and these associated with the drug and alcohol in the sense psychological attachment to the certain effects such as euphoria and temporarily well-being, means temporarily feeling well-being associated with the drugs and alcohol. That is what we are going to call as a addiction. In the sense ಅದನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ಏನ್ಪಾರ ನೀವು ಡ್ರಗ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಆಲ್ಕೋಹಾಲ್ ತಗೊಳಕತ್ತಿರಂದಾಗ if you are supposed to addict ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಅದನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ you are going to feel the what you are going to feeling you are going to feel good or you are feeling what pleasant. Okay. Okay, so we are studied about the definition of addiction. Now I am going to go for the dependence. If you are addicted, then you are going to dependent on drug and alcohol. And when we are going to call the person is dependent on drug or dependent on a drug and alcohol, how we are going to tell the person is dependent? In the sense, dependence is the tendency of the body to manifest a characteristic and unpleasant withdrawal syndrome. Unpleasant withdrawal syndrome. In the sense, our body is to show or our body is going to manifest in that when the person who is what we are going to call them as a addicted for some drug and alcohol, if suddenly he is going to stop taking those drugs and what we are going to call that one as a alcohol, that time his body is going to manifest or it's showing manifest a characteristics and it feels unpleasant withdrawal syndromes. Syndrome in the sense I told you in a AIDS, when we are discussed about the AIDS syndrome, in the sense group of what symptoms, that is what we are going to call as a syndromes. But here I am going to tell those symptoms. Before that I am telling you independence in the sense dependence in the sense what? If the person is addicted already, once he is going to stop taking the drugs or alcohol suddenly, that time his body is what showing some what manifested characteristics and it shows the unpleasant withdrawal syndromes. Unpleasant withdrawal syndromes. Okay. What we are going to call that as a unpleasant withdrawal syndromes. What are those different syndromes in the sense, or what are those characteristics in the sense? He is going to show the anxiety, then shakiness, nausea, swelling, and sometimes he is going to what now I am telling nadagta irbodhu ನೋಡಿರಬೇಕು ನೀವು ಯಾರು ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆಲ್ಕೋಹಾಲ್ ಅಬ್ಯೂಸ್ ಇದ್ದ ನಾವು ಆಲ್ಕೋಹಾಲ್ ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂದಾಗ ಸಡನ್ಲಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ತಂದಾಗ ಕೈ ಕಾಲು ಏನಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿತ್ತು. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಒನ್ characteristic of a dependence. In the sense, dependence is the tendency of the body to manifest a characteristic and unpleasant withdrawal syndrome if regular dose of drug or alcohol is discontinued. When he is going to discontinue the regular doses of drug and alcohol, that time his body to manifest a characteristic and unpleasant withdrawal syndrome. It shows the unpleasant withdrawal syndrome. That is what we are going to call as a dependence. Now, addiction and dependence. How the person undergoes the addiction and dependence. Addiction, how they are going to go for the addiction in the sense, first they used to start taking the drug or alcohol in a smaller quantity, and that time their body, whatever the receptors are there in a body for the drug and alcohol, we are studied in a last class common drugs, opioid, cannabinoid, and last one is a cocaine. For them, the receptors are localized in a different position in our means different organs in our body. Okay, like that. If for the addiction I am talking here, if the person is start taking a small amount of drug or alcohol, that time our body is going to respond for that small amount of what we are going to call as a drug and alcohol, and it continues day by day. It continue ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋತಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತಿಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ our body is going to start responding for that what we are going to call that one as a small quantity of drug or alcohol. ಆಗ ಏನಾಗ್ತಿಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ that person is going to increase his intake. ಆಗ ಅವನು ಅದರ intake ನ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಡ್ರಗ್ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಆಲ್ಕೋಹಾಲ್ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಏನಾಗ್ತಿಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅವು ರಿಸೆಪ್ಟಾರ್ಸ್ ಏನಾವು ಆ ರಿಸೆಪ್ಟಾರ್ ಆಗ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಾಗಿರ್ತಾವೆ ಕೋಪ ಮಾಡಾಗಿರ್ತಾವೆ. ಲೈಕ್ ವೈಸ್ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಹಾಕೋತ ಹೋತಂದ್ರೆ ಒನ್ ಡೇ ಏನಾಗ್ತೈತೆ ಅಂದಾಗ ಅವ್ಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಆ ಡ್ರಗ್ ತೊಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಆಲ್ಕೋಹಾಲ್ ತೊಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅವ್ಗೆ ಏನಾಗಿಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಸಾಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಥವಾ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಫೀಲ್ ಇನಫ್, and such situation, that particular situation we are going to call that as a addiction. That situation we are going to call that as a addiction. Then only he is going to feel good, or psychologically what we are going to call it as a, he is to feel euphoria or temporary well-being, and that leads to the addiction. In the sense he is going to start continuing it. For example, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ನೋಡ್ರಿ ಈಗ, the addiction is drive the people to taken them even when these are not needed. ಯಾವಾಗ ಅದನ್ನು ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಆಗೋ ಅವ್ರು ತಗೊಳ್ತಾರೋ, even when their use becomes self destructive. ಇವನ್ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಸೇವನೆ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೆಲಸದಿಂದ ಅಥವಾ ನಾವು ಏನು ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ವರ್ಕ್ದಿಂದ ನಾವು ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಆ ಡ್ರಗ್ ನಮ್ಗೆ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋಂಗ ಅನಿಸ್ತೈತಿ, and that leads to the addiction. Understood? Next, with the repeated uses of drug, when we are going to use the repeatedly the drugs and alcohol, the tolerance level of the what receptor present in our body, it is increases. Now earlier in here, tolerance level of the receptor, it is going to increase when he is going to try repeatedly the drug and alcohol. Okay, that is leads to addiction, and ultimately the addiction leads to the dependence. Dependence in the sense is going to show the manifested characteristics or an unpleasant withdrawal syndrome if the regular dose of drugs and alcohol is discontinuous. Understood? And this dependence leads to the patient to ignore all the social norms. When the person is undergoing the dependence, that time he is going to ignore all the norms in order to get sufficient funds to satiate his or her needs. Our need ಏನಲ್ಲ, need ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ fulfill ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ, he is going to become more greedy, and this result in the many social adjustment problems, and this leads to the social adjustment problem. So these all are the things we are going to study in a addiction, means we are studying in a addiction and dependence. Addiction, first you used to know the definition of addiction, you used to know the definition of dependence, and what are the reasons for the addiction. When you are going to start taking the drugs repeatedly, then the tolerance of the receptors which are present in our body, that is going to increase, and for that means fulfill that increase the tolerance level, you used to take the more and more quantity of drug and alcohol, and that is ultimately leads to the addiction. And then next step of the addiction is dependence. If you are dependent on drug or alcohol, if you are going to stop suddenly taking drug and alcohol, that time our body, the body or a tendency of our body to manifest a characteristics, or it shows the unpleasant withdrawal syndrome. Unpleasant withdrawal syndrome. Okay, what are the syndromes? I told you those are like anxiety, nausea, sweating, trembling, etc. This is about what the addiction and what dependence. So today's class in this particular video, in this particular class, we have studied about the definition of adolescence and what are the causes for drug and alcohol abuse in adolescence. after that we have studied about what is the addictions with regarding to the what is the addiction with regarding to the drug and alcohol, what is the dependence regarding to the drug and alcohol. Okay, I'll stop here, and in next class we are going to study about the effects of drug and alcohol abuse. Thank you.